Good afternoon, everyone. We could get going here. My name is Randy Bossman with Granite Construction Company. I'm here to introduce our next topic, daily equipment inspection programs. Brief description of the program and some of the things we should take away from this. Daily inspection programs have moved well past pen and paper. Listen to several stakeholders in the process, end user, OEM, and software provider as they discuss best practices, new technologies, and emerging methods for daily inspection of equipment fleets. Some takeaways, learn where the industry is going and how we're going to get there, understand how to better improve machine operation through technology, watch the evolution of machine inspection reports from past, present, future, from pen, paper, and devices and modern technology, and reduce your risk of accidents while increasing machine utilization. And our presenters, starting on my right here is Matt Beinlich, is Deputy Director of Technical Support for Komatsu America. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Illinois and a Master's of Business Administration from Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management. He's worked in the heavy equipment industry since 2000 as Deputy Director of Technical Support. Matt currently has responsibility for Komatsu's North American construction equipment. Next to him is Fred Fakkema, is Vice President of Compliance for Zonar Company. Fred joined Zonar in 2010 after a 25-year career with Washington State Patrol. In his current role, he serves as governmental liaison and works with customers to meet their safety and compliance goals. During his career, he commanded the Washington State Patrol Academy, Government and Relations Division, and Commercial Vehicle Division. He is past president for the Washington chapter of FBI National Academy Associates. And next to him is Kerry. Sudrla. Started with Kiewit in 1981 as an equipment engineer. He is a graduate of University of Nebraska-Lincoln and has served as project equipment manager on various projects throughout the company. Kerry has been involved in equipment procurement and liquidation and was district equipment manager, Denver District from 1998 to 2005. Since 2005, Kerry has held the position of corporate equipment operations and technical manager. And if you all would, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this, and with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Matt Beinlich with Komatsu, and in the next few minutes, I'll give you a quick review of the history of telematics in the equipment industry and common applications in safety and maintenance arenas. Then I'll turn you over to Zonar and Kiewit for some cutting-edge but real-world applications that illustrate the power of telematics when fully leveraged. And we hope this session inspires you to take the plunge, if you haven't already, and engage with the myriad of telematics systems that are already available to you today. There we go. So what do we do before telematics? We haven't always had tablets and smartphones running cloud-based applications, but we have always instinctively known the value of writing things down and tracking progress. You can't measure what you can't manage what you can't measure has long been a mantra in the equipment management field. I've seen plenty of companies run their fleets out of a single dog-eared spiral-bound notebook, and others point to their mission control whiteboard. Both of these solutions get at the essence of the situation. To run a fleet well, you need to visualize its current state and track your progress towards your goal. Microsoft came along and gave us the save button, so we weren't screwed if the notebook got lost or the whiteboard got erased. But Excel and Access pretty much performed the same basic functions as earlier solutions. Next came custom software, of which there must be thousands now. These typically did some forecasting, some dashboarding that made life a little bit easier. And if not, at least they looked impressive. Next slide. So to what end? Why have companies always invested so much time, effort, and resources into equipment management, and particularly daily inspections? One explanation might be that machines are expensive and the fleet is a really large asset for most customers. But does something justify more attention just because it's expensive? A deeper explanation is that we're all competing with one another based on the belief that the safest and the smartest company is going to win the race. We all know from reflecting on a day of work or just walking around a job site that there's plenty of waste still in the system. Our phones ring all day long with emergencies on down machines. Emails are rolling in with unwelcome surprises about a machine not being available. And meanwhile, you look at the operational part of the fleet and it sits idle. There's got to be a better way, a way to take control. That desire for control and our competitive nature, along with 3 other trends, is what led to telematics taking off in our industry. Government regulations were an outside factor that none of us had any control over. All equipment owners, you guys, are obliged to prove your conformance with data, and all equipment manufacturers, like myself, are obliged to reduce exhaust emissions. Fortunately, while the requirements were getting more and more challenging for all of us, we were getting smarter. More of the folks in our industry have an education. The industry itself, AEMP, provides us plenty of information to help us move forward. And the equipment has kept up. Technology quickly makes the jump from passenger to on-road to off-road vehicles. Today, thanks to telematics, equipment management is cheaper, faster, easier, more automated, and just better overall. I mentioned that much of the technology from the off-road industry actually came from passenger vehicles and on-road vehicles. That's true. We tend to lag by about 5 to 10 years. But the value proposition in the equipment management industry is also a little bit different. And we can see that as we look on this slide as how the functionality has evolved over time. What we call level 1 on this slide, GPS in hours, that's pretty similar across platforms, aside from whether we're tracking the distance a vehicle moves or the time that it's running. But by level 2, you can start to see a pattern emerging, where off-road telematics is less about the vehicles, and it's more about how the operators are using those vehicles. 2015, we're on our 5th generation of telematics, and at this point, manufacturers and our distributors can actually provide coaching to your individual operators based on how they're using the machine and the information that we get through telematics. So just how important is it to get comfortable with telematics if you're not already? I'm sure everybody remembers the day when a spiral notebook worked just fine for managing your fleet, but you know that it doesn't cut it today. And I think these numbers here on the slide might kind of hold the explanation to that. Chances are your company has grown and the fleet has expanded either by acquiring other businesses or branching out into new areas. And every one of those new machines that you buy today or acquired along the way probably has some type of telematics system on them. Just as your smartphone helps you keep up with the pace of life today, telematics holds the answer to helping you keep up with the pace of business. There aren't enough hours in the day or enough employees on the payroll to manage the fleet on paper any longer. Fleets and the percentage of the fleets that have telematics has finally achieved critical mass. So I'll leave you with one last bit of history, and these are what I consider to be 3 very pivotal decisions that manufacturers made to help launch telematics in our industry. The first is having made telematics standard rather than optional. This brought with it economies of scale, which lowered the cost of the system, and it really gave us, the manufacturers and the distributors, a much more robust population for our analysis. We also knew that communication fees were going to be another big barrier to adoption, and we felt that if we could actually justify subsidizing the communication costs just because of the insights that we were getting from the data that was coming back to us. And the last and probably most important part is that we were all very keenly aware of the big brother implications of telematics, and so we were really, really careful to use telematics data always to help and never to hurt. We felt like if owners and operators thought that OEMs were using the information from telematics against them, they would just snap the antenna off, and it's all over. That would have been a really huge step backwards for everybody, and fortunately, all parties have played nice the vast majority of the times, which has led to some really interesting new products and insights that the next couple of panelists are going to talk to you about. Okay, Fred.
Perfect. Right, well, good afternoon. We were teasing earlier that we're going to have to work really hard to keep everybody awake after that great lunch. So, as he talked a little bit, there's been a lot of history in technology, and if you look back, it's been a 10-year cycle of the changes in technology. So where we went from a mainframe computing system back in the 1960s to today, everybody actually having something in their pocket or in their hand that they can utilize to be more effective or more creative. How many people here have children or grandchildren? Do they work your cell phone, your PDA device better than you do? I know mine does. I mean, I get FaceTimes from my granddaughter who's 3, you know, and she can work through my iPhone like crazy. Well, so think about those folks that are coming into your workforce. They're coming in to work for you. They expect that technology, and so how do you get there? And doing electronic inspections is just one little facet of that, but know that everybody wants that technology piece. So moving into efficiency, we all know that paper-based product is error-prone. It just is. I mean, when I was in law enforcement, we used to write on citations, right? And the old joke was press hard 5 copies because you had all that carbon paper in between, you know, and you really had to make sure that you could read the last page because that's the one you gave the person to the ticket to. And think about all the court clerks trying to manufacture or create all the documents that take place on a citation when you're handwriting it. Cops are worse than doctors when it comes to handwriting. So how are your drivers or operators? How is their handwriting? So if they're turning in a piece of paper, where does that piece of paper go? Think about the process that it takes to go to the end line to the maintenance to make sure that a defect is taken care of. There's a lot of efficiency that transpires when you go to electronic. So there's a poll that was done by Fleet Owner magazine a few years ago, and the question was, you know, do pre and post trip inspections, are they performed inadequately or are they done well? Same with walk around inspections. Well, 86% of those fleet managers, operators, owners, drivers said they don't do them well. They don't do them right. So my question to you is, how do you know your team's doing it right? Are you making sure that they're walking around, getting out of the off the vehicle, off the equipment, making sure that they're actually looking at it? So electronic inspections, really it's about ensuring the equipment's safe before you operate it. Whether it's the walk around or the pre and post trip inspection on a vehicle for over the road, when they do those electronic inspections, rather than filling out a form, they're checking a box or agreeing to something, which is automatically transferred to the back end. So what does that do? It improves maintenance. You know about those defects immediately. They can be corrected immediately, and the vehicle uptime is that much better as you move forward. It improves the maintenance process. And again, going back to it, it eliminates paperwork errors. Then there's electronic verified inspections. It's patent RFID technology, and basically you put RFID tag around a vehicle. It could be a dozer, it can be a roller, it can be a tractor, it can be a trailer, it can be whatever it is, and you force the operator to get off the vehicle, out of the cab, walk around, scan that zone, look at that, what needs to be done, and say whether or not that area is good, move to the next, move to the next. Every location is date and time stamp. So that gives you the opportunity as a manager to say, I know how long they're spending doing an inspection. I know how long it takes them to do a walk around. I know that they're not even opening the hood or looking underneath the vehicle, whatever it may be. It's all configurable to manage well. Once that inspection's done, it's uploaded electronically, and now you have your work orders that are in the back end, all being managed right away by the maintenance. It increases that communication, and it complies with FMCSA or USDOT, with OSHA and MNSHA. And think about an audit process when somebody comes to your shop and they want to see your walk-around inspections for that vehicle and that vehicle and that vehicle. And now you have to write down those numbers, figure out what it is, go back into the file system, pull that piece of paper. Hopefully you have that paper that's there that needs to be there for the audit. Whereas if you do it electronically, you have it at your fingertips and can print it before they even get there. It's all ready for you. You can cover your entire fleet with a solution. So you don't have to have an option for this or an option for that. You can cover your over-the-road vehicles, you can cover your heavy-duty equipment, whatever it may be, and it improves safety for everybody. I'm going to read about our Goodfellows pilot. So this is a real example of how it can improve processes. So during our pilot with Goodfellows, they discovered that what they always suspected, that the equipment operators were not performing daily visual inspections on yellow iron. Through the pilot, we witnessed drastic spike in work orders being filed with the equipment department during yellow iron pre-trip inspections. This told the executive team that for the first time, they actually received good data from the field in relation to both safety of equipment and their ability to prove uptime. With operations spread across Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington, encompassing multiple job sites in each state, the equipment department realized that the only way to capture true visibility was through automatic alerts. By emailing equipment directors for each state every time an out-of-service defect was reported, they were able to improve uptime and utilization by 25%. As Goodfellow Brothers expanded operations into California, they were required to follow California and Hawaii emission standards for idle time. By building specific air quality zones, we were able to build ad hoc reports, giving the management team access to their compliance with each state requirements. The byproduct of this visibility also allowed them to enforce their internal idle policy and reduce those efforts, which was on 1 year just on pickup truck idle over $56,000. That ROI is right there for you to switch over. So Goodfellows was the first company in the nation to adopt full electronic inspections on their yellow iron fleet back in 2008. They maintained that policy for the past 7 years and have over 400 pieces of equipment daily that use electronic inspections. So it does work. There is an example for you how electronic inspection works and how it can actually expand from there. So when you're thinking about electronic inspections, think about what else there is out there. There is an ELD mandate coming down to electronic logging devices, so all your over-the-road vehicles are going to have that requirement to worry about. Integrate everything that you can into the electronic piece and be more productive that way. The stakes are too high. There are so many things that can go wrong if you use paper. Catch the problem while it's small, increase your uptime, increase the vehicle health of the health of the fleet. When you do sell your vehicles, think about all the electronic copies that you have that you can put in a file when you go to auction and turn that vehicle in. It's all right there at your fingertips. It makes it more effective and definitely is cost effective for you as well. And now I'll turn it over. Kerry?
Okay, thank you, Fred. I'll touch on end user's point of view on technology and specifically things like telematics and electronic DVIs. Just a quick touch on where I work. The Kiewit Corporation started in 1884 in Omaha, Nebraska. We work throughout the United States, Canada, and Western Australia. We've got 26,000 capitalized pieces of equipment. That's a little bit misleading. That's cars and pickups and small stuff in it. But if you look at the traditional yellow iron cranes, crushers, plants, and pavers, about 14,000 pieces of equipment. We've always had a strong focus on safety, quality, and managing our cost, knowing where we're at, cost versus budget. So those dynamics really drive how we try to operate. We started dabbling with technology 5 or 6 years ago. We knew then that technology could help us on, on a lot of fronts. Better productivity, better maintenance, safety, compliance, environment, all those things. Technology was then and really still is a very evolving field with an awful lot to offer. We saw that we could easily outrun our headlights if we weren't careful. started the technology process, we elected to identify, focus on just a few basics and grow from there. And we're still in the growing and learning phase, certainly. Telematics, electronic DVIs, DOT driver enhancements are a couple of the focus areas that we hit. So in our remaining time here, I'd like to talk a little bit about where we're at on those fronts. Telematics is really where we took our first deep dive into technology. We've got a kind of a three-phase telematic attack going on. Phase 1 includes machine hours and location. Phase 2, machine health, and then ultimately Phase 3, connected worksite, and we're a ways away from that yet. Machine hours, meter hours, if you think about it, it drives everything, for us anyway. When we change oil, when we perform a PM, it's the denominator for all of our costs: repair cost per hour, tire and track cost per hour, technician labor cost per hour. It drives utilization data, certainly for us, and it drives component management decisions. So the ease of getting hours telematically, and I mean accurate hours, not the dashboard hours that we get. We think the payback is big in time, accuracy, and even safety. When you talk about location, something as simple as machine location, we found certainly a big savings there. 2 weeks ago, I was on two broad projects. One was about a 57 lane mile grading and paving project. 2 days later, it was on a power plant emission retrofit with equipment hiding behind columns and in buildings. And both projects really pose a big challenge for the maintenance crews and the oilers locating equipment in a timely manner. There really is a labor savings an uptime savings that you can quantify just by knowing where the equipment is and getting to it in short order. Machine health, a couple of dynamics that we see that to me makes it very critical. Number one, we struggle like crazy getting and keeping good technicians, and I would suspect that you've got the same issue. Secondly, today's equipment is very complex, and together, substandard technicians and complex equipment absolutely is, we think, a toxic mix. It can make troubleshooting very tough. When I started in the industry, how you diagnosed and how you fixed pick a machine, an excavator or a loader, whether it was a Caterpillar, a Komatsu, a Volvo, or a Case, was all the same. The mechanical systems were the same, and that's really not the case today, is it? With proprietary codes, special diagnostics, special tooling, it makes it pretty tough. And with an evolving, inexperienced workforce, we can't be that good. We've got the whole United Nations of brands of equipment, so we rely very heavily on dealer technicians and on the onboard health systems to allow us to mitigate downtime and keep us moving. Ultimately, we see down the road some form of connected worksite. This, I bet, is in the future of all of us. Job site logistics, optimizing productivity, fleet optimization, autonomous trucks. A lot of that technology exists today. AccuGrade, Smart Equip, load management systems. There's a lot of stuff out there today that we can use, and a lot around the corner. This morning, there was a conversation about drones, and I would bet you in a couple of years we're talking about that. So I challenge you to learn and understand what's out there. Technology can live in a lot of places. We built this smart fuel truck, we call it. This provides a communication link between the Lube truck and the equipment that it's fueling. It allows the oiler to know what units need fuel and which don't, based on telematic hours of the last fuel, and then the machine burn rate. how this thing works at a high level, we put ID tags on all of the project's equipment. The lube truck then reads the equipment that's in its proximity. The lube truck display screen reads the current machine telematic hours. So it's drawing those telematic hours, and it reads stored data from the technology provider that reports the hour meter reading at the last fill. Preloaded into the system are the burn rates of equipment, and as the OEMs go towards metering fuel, this opportunity will get only better. If we dispense fuel in a vehicle, a sensor on the fuel nozzle logs the gallons dispensed by equipment number, then that feeds our ERP system. So, simple touches, but if we're not NASCAR-esque in measuring seconds, but we can and do quantify minutes. And if you put dollars to that time, huge savings in time and efficiency, and certainly in the accuracy of reporting. DOT driver data, this is an electronic inspection process that we're really just launching this thing. We think this is going to help us on two fronts. One, really improving how we manage drivers' hours of service. And it will, number two, allow for a more complete DOT truck inspection, one that the technician we think is going to be able to respond to quickly and accurately. How this thing works for the inspection process. The driver with an iPhone identifies the truck by engaging a barcode that we've put on the truck. The driver completes a preloaded inspection through a series of pull-down screens and even a free text field. The technology provider, in this case, stores the inspection, and then the data from the inspection history is either pushed or pulled as necessary to generate work orders if there's a repair issue, or to notify management, or even notify the driver if there are any milestone dates that are soon to hit. For hours of service, the driver enters his employee ID number, his or her ID number into an iPhone. iPhone's pretty critical in our business anymore. Once they do that, time and location are then set, and then the system tracks the driver's duty time, both driving and non-driving. Now, certainly the driver has got to identify when they're driving and not. This system provides the driver kind of an at-a-glance look at his or her time remaining. Hour of service info can be pulled in from the provider's website as required by our staff, or if you're involved in any audits. Just getting started here, we think this thing is going to help us a lot. It's reduced across the company. I'm going to make this number up, but you won't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to tell you 17 people we've been able to repurpose through this process to date. Daily visual inspections, the pretty exciting deal to me. This represents really one of our bigger technology wins, I think, for us. The accuracy and the timeliness that this process brings us absolutely allows for better planning and a reduced downtime. DVIs have historically been a pain point for us. The old way in Kiewit world anyway, operators and foremen would complete a fairly generic inspection form. And that inspection report then would get picked up by the maintenance force sometime during the day, depending on how the job was set up, right? So it might get picked up at 10 in the morning, noon. It might get picked up at the end of the shift. It might conceivably ride around on the dash of the wheel loader or the crane for the balance of the day. The total hours of all of the inspections done over the course of a day in our world build what we call a backlog. And that backlog, project to-do list, dictates how many technicians, how many oilers, fuelers, mechanics, welders we need on the job. So in order to be staffed right, the backlog has to be right, and for the backlog to be right, the visual check process has to be right. So a couple things happen here, bad things. But by not having a nearly instant awareness of a deficiency, we lose the opportunity to really plan and manage the repair, right? We don't have the opportunity to be sure we have the parts on hand, have the tooling on hand, to recognize whether we're smart enough to make the repair or not, and call the dealer when we need to. We lose all that. Secondly, our knowledge of the deficiency is limited to how well the inspection's filled out. And, so you're a little bit at the mercy of the mechanical knowledge of the individual doing the inspection. The terminology, do they understand what the parts and pieces are? Language certainly is a barrier. We talked about penmanship. That absolutely can affect how well the maintenance force understands a deficiency. So a lot riding on visual inspections. Today, every operator, every foreman, every superintendent can complete a detailed and accurate inspection report in minutes with information that's clear enough for the equipment group to react efficiently with the right tools, with the right technician, and with a minimum of downtime. And downtime absolutely is the key as equipment people, whether you're equipment director, oiler foreman, or a maintenance engineer, we all work to minimize downtime, and you're the same way. We work on a critical path, and so every step that we can take to mitigate the issues in that critical path, we have to take, and I truly think that this is a big step. Our process is one where inspection reports, inspection criteria are preloaded into a database. An inspection app is installed on an iPhone. At inspection time, the app is called up, the inspection is completed with, pull-down screens and with a free text field, and then a big plus here, the opportunity to take a picture of the issue. Everything we talked about before, poor penmanship, poor technology, poor mechanical prowess, that kind of goes away, doesn't it? Picture's worth 1,000 words. You've heard that. Well, to me, that's especially true in detailing a leak or detailing a crack or an issue that we can now clearly see remotely. This is it's a very fast drive through here, but I would tell you these are a handful of things that are helping us. There's no doubt in my mind that new technologies like electronic inspections allow for lots of good things: faster diagnostics, better use of labor, better managing in general. And that sounds all good, but how do you get started with the process? How do you begin? I would tell you, if you're not navigating down that path yet, I'd learn what's available out there, and it's just a myriad of things. But there's loads of OEM and third-party partners to educate you on some of the technologies that exist today, and some that will exist in the near future and long-term future. So learn what's available. Secondly, I would say understand which technologies can help you, production-wise, cost-wise, safety and compliance-wise. Wherever you feel there's a itch that's not scratched, there's probably technology to do that for you. And I'd say start small. We did that. We got lots of people involved in it, but you got to walk before you can run. And I think ultimately you have to understand and quantify the potential savings and communicate that to leadership, and then build a team. That can be a little bit tough. Buy-in is kind of a tough deal. We had that issue. There's cost involved with any of these technologies, isn't there? Hardware cost, subscriptions, the cost of training, the cost of learning, and those can be hurdles for those who don't fully see and understand the benefits that come from the technologies. Those are hurdles that some level of upper management struggle with at times. And obviously we need their buy-in, don't we? Likewise, it won't work without project management's buy-in. You know, we've got an industry that's, I was talking about this with John Caskey earlier, of successful men and women who've kind of come through their careers and know how well equipment operations can be managed without telematics and without electronic DVIs and without smart fuel trucks. Because we've done it for years and we've done a pretty good job of it. And it can be hard for them to support technologies because sometimes they don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know how much better we can be. Maybe they don't grasp the benefits that come from the technologies that are at hand now. So you might need to work to get their buy-in. We need to be manager enough maybe to show upper management and to show project management and operators even the gains that come from things like electronic DVIs. You know, like anything else, there's going to be problems. Installations, hardware, software, reporting, all those things. We struggled with that, and frankly, we still do a bit. We elected to run at it pretty much head on, though. We identified a handful of champions. We're spread through 3 countries, and we've got like 34 different operating districts. We got 6 or 8 men and women that are technology champions spread geographically, and their charge is to address these issues programmatically, to raise the bar and to own it like a business, to plan, to train, to execute, audit, and then adjust the process as necessary. I think personally you need that team, you need that person. It's helped us to get better. And then lastly, I would say be patient. You know, small bites, grow into the technology, tweak it as you go, and you'll find success at whatever level you engage. Thank you.
With that, we'll start taking questions. Give us just a second here to set up.
Kerry, the DVI, the electronic inspection reports that you are doing now, are they, whose product are you using? Is this something you've built yourself, or how are you going about that?
Yeah, the electronic DVI we built ourselves. That's the only thing we do. Partners. We've got a asset management. Electronic DVI is.
Thank you.
Any questions over here?
One over here.
So I guess expanding on what Craig had said, is there any integration from your DVIs to your ERP or your asset management system?
Say that again. I was trying to find the end of my mic.
No problem. Your DVI, electronic DVIs, do you integrate that into your asset management system?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I was hoping nobody would ask a question I couldn't answer. How that actually works, I don't know. But yes, it does tie. Ultimately, we're trying to get to lowest cost of ownership, cradle to grave. And the DVI process logs deficiencies and categorizes it, just like if you were to take your car to the car dealer with an electronic issue. They drill down, first it won't start, so they know it's maybe electric, and then they drill down to no start, then they drill down to a starter, then they drill down to a starter solenoid. we want to get to that level, and we're just a long ways from there yet, to help us on two fronts. One, to help us make the right buy decisions and help us understand the downtime that is tied to any particular brand and model of equipment. We also want to share that information with the manufacturers to help build a bulletproof machine, a machine that'll go 12,000 hours with 0 breakdowns. I don't know if that answered the question or not.
Another question, with all the technology that you have, this is for the same gentleman, what would you say is the percentage of internal use of your own maintenance and/or repair people versus dealers/OEM? Have you cut down on that? Are you looking to move in that direction?
We've absolutely cut down on repairs. We manage and watch mechanical downtime. We've reduced it dramatically. And we've done it because we can, with the DVIs, focus more efficiently on what the repair is and more quickly identify if we've got the human resource and the tools and the capacity to make that repair versus subbing it out. So we're just much more fleet of foot, if you will. In terms of changing the mix of maintenance and repairs that we do ourselves versus outside source, I would tell you probably not a lot of bearing on that, but just by nature of what I said earlier, the complexity of the equipment is really driving us more to using dealers. That is kind of a two-edged sword for me. I'm very proud of our maintenance practices. I think we're as good as there is. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think we're a 9. We're probably a 7, but I think we're a 9. When the technologies are such, and we've got every brand of equipment, and we can't get the guys to have all the tooling and be as good as a dealer with the maintenance, then we're kind of forced to use the manufacturers. And that's okay, because they have the training, they have the tooling, they're better than we are. So we get an incremental gain. We think, if I can say this, but I'm going to say it, we think we lose a competitive advantage that way because we think that it takes our competitors from wherever they're at to up to that same 9, right? And so that's just a little devil within inside me I have to deal with, I guess. But we get more efficient and we'll utilize manufacturers more because of the complexity of the equipment. But the benefit of that is this reliability little gig that I was talking about earlier. We want machines that will go 12,000 hours and you not have to touch it. So if you think about that, what has to happen? The weakest link in that machine has got to go 12,000 hours. I don't know if 12,000 hours is the right number, but every nozzle, every wrist pin, every bearing, every solenoid has got to go 12,000 hours. And that's pretty tough for a manufacturer to build that because they lose visibility of that weak component or that weak component within a component. Maybe it's the solenoid in the starter. They don't have that visibility often once you get outside the warranty range, do they? Because you start using your own labor, you start buying parts other than OEM, and that defective part, that defective component never gets back to the manufacturer. So by using dealer labor, I think it probably bolsters that reliability process going forward, I think.
Got a question here for Fred. Is it hard to get employees to adopt technologies like this?
You say that one more time?
I say, is it hard to get employees to adopt technology like what you described?
Yeah, when you first start, you definitely have to have a good training program to get everybody on board and start working through that process. And truly what happens is once they start doing the electronic inspections, you start getting those defects reported more. So you see it start to climb up with the defects, but then as those defects are repaired and you start getting that good program, they start to drop off and level out, and your fleet is, the uptime's a lot better. So once they actually start to use it and experience and see how it works and how it really manages and how their vehicles and their equipment is being repaired quickly and the uptime is better, the adoption is a lot quicker as well.
I guess to follow up on that, are there any drawbacks to the technology you described?
Well, I think the drawback is once you implement it, it's difficult to get that buy-in like I was just talking about. I think that's the drawback of when you start is getting the champions that Kerry was talking about to really help push it forward. It's difficult at first. And certainly anytime you install any sort of technology on any product doing anything, there's always going to be a road bump. There's going to be issues that happen. Whatever it is, it happens. I mean, if the iPhone is an example of that, when they roll out something, they got to roll out something else to fix it. Anytime there's technology, there's always going to be a glitch. And so then overcoming that glitch and working through those issues are always a difficult issue.
Absolutely, yes. And I would tell you that we were actually pretty good with aesthetics and housekeeping on equipment anyway. We've got really our maintenance basics are a daily visual inspection, a 500-hour PM, and fluid analysis. And our 500-hour PM is, kind of like a physical if you're a person, right? Instead of a stress test and blood test and treadmill, that's where we do cycles and pressures and engine idle and torque values on bolts and safety issues and any of the aesthetic things. So then we're not as good as I'm going to make a sound here, but typically every 500 hours those things get put back together. We charge our operations abuse on most projects. So there's it kind of self-polices itself. But the electronic DVIs do allow for interior, exterior bends and cracks and holes in floor mats and those things that typically the operator or the foreman wouldn't write down. So that's allowed us to manage better. It's allowed us to have the floor mat or the armrest or whatever it is on hand when it comes to PM time. So yeah, we've raised the bar there for sure.
Yeah, we've seen it with our customers as well. And the other thing it does is when you do the daily walk around or you're doing the pre and post trip inspection, it creates that safety mindset before they start the day. They get into that mindset as they're doing it, and it transpires in the cleanliness of the vehicle, whether it's inside or outside.
I guess another question that came to my mind was, what other industries might we look at for ideas on how to utilize technology and telematics?
So I'll take that one if that's all right.
Yeah.
In my portion of the presentation, I talked about how heavy equipment tends to lag passenger vehicles and on-road by 5 to 10 years, and I'm not really satisfied with that being the state that we're in 5 to 10 years in the future. So what I'm following and thinking about trying to apply to the heavy equipment industry are concepts from the Internet of Things that people have probably heard about before. Things that you may not make a link to traditionally to an excavator or a bulldozer, but your refrigerator might be networked. Now, your microwave, your dishwasher, those might be networked. You can close your garage door from your telephone now. So I think those probably offer some lessons or aha moments that we haven't discovered yet. Also, personal health. I bet you there's a lot of people in here that are wearing Fitbits on their wrist, right, to track how many steps they've taken. I gave my parents and my brother Fitbits for Christmas last year, and they've kind of competed with one another to see who can take the most steps throughout the day. If our machines are all networked, we can stage the same kind of competition between bulldozers, and we actually have a customer that's doing an east versus west division competition to try to reduce their idle time.
Good. Fred, your technologies, are they accepted by regulatory agencies such as OSHA and MSHA? And
Yes, they are, and we work with them quite a bit. One of my responsibilities is regulatory compliance, and so we do work with them quite a bit. You know, I mentioned it during the presentation that during an audit, it's a heck of a lot better to have stuff right at your fingertips than you have to go dig for something to find it. And another thing to mention that I didn't during the presentation was for your over-the-road vehicles, FMCSA changed the pre and post-trip requirements, right? So you only have to maintain the documentation if there's a defect that's found or written down. So that's one of those challenges too, as you're rolling out a daily inspection electronically, you're forcing them to do it every day, even though they say, well, I don't have to, because if there's no defect, we don't have to keep it. But on the flip side of that, that was a paper-reducing effort by FMCSA. It wasn't for safety reasons. All the requirements are still there. You just don't have to keep the paper. Well, doing it electronically, you don't have paper anyway. So make sure that you have those records. Make sure you show you have a good safety program, whatever you're inspecting or walking around.
any other questions out there? All right, well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Thanks.